welcome to another edition of Mortgage Talks. I'm your host, Adam Hires. We have an exciting guest on here today, as always, bringing the heat. So a part of the GLOW, the Genius Loan Officer that we are launching. We have an amazing guest on here that is a part of that, but he has some really tactical, strategic tips to help you grow your business and not only be just the same as lame loan officer out there begging for business or whatever people always like to say. I never beg for business. Neither should you, but some real tactical tips, strategies to help you grow your business in maybe a unique way. And some you may have done before, but just trying to dial it in a little bit more. So excited for that. Obviously, things are going crazy out there in the mortgage world. Offers getting rejected with $20,000, $30,000. Hell, you may be somewhere and they're offering $100,000 over asking, and they can't get the deal. So it's crazy times. But what I'll encourage you to do always and forever is one of the things that people will say, if you're talking to a loan officer, and it's like, hey, leads or referrals or pre-approved buyers, that's not the issue. The issue is getting people under contract. I would really admonish you not to really buy into that, because it's kind of like old Jeb Blunt and Fanatical Prospecting, right? The pipe is king, right? The pipe is king. If you had every pre-approved buyer in the whole marketplace, how many deals would you do? Probably do a lot more than you're doing. I know I would. I don't have everybody. Neither do you. Neither does anybody. The point is, how much market share can you take? How many pre-approved buyers can you put in the funnel? Because the funnel will at some point funnel down to the bottom line. So a lot of people will go, hey, how am I going to get this person under contract? Well, obviously you can call the seller agent. I just got done calling a seller agent a little bit ago, vouching for my client. We sent a video. You have, that good dialogue back and forth, which is a great opportunity to talk to another agent. There's different strategies, right? And I don't want to discount those, but what I do want to discount is you saying that, hey, I got enough pre-approved buyers, I just don't have enough on contract. No, always and forever, continue to build the funnel. Well, guess what? I can't follow up on them. Well, you don't have a big enough team. We can go down this rabbit hole all day, and I can continue to rebuttal all that crap that you have in your head, because it's crap. If your funnel is big enough deals will come. So if before you were funneling down X amount, then maybe your percentage has went down because now there's less coming down to the bottom line. So keep building a funnel. The big thing is out there, loan officers, is continue to grow that, continue to grow your team, continue to get more in the funnel. But what's your strategies and tactics and everything else to stay in front of the pre-approved buyers for 6 months if it takes them a year? So are you following up with your database? Are you doing the right things? Are you encouraging people? And remember, you don't always have to be the one calling them all the time. There's virtual assistants. You can kind of touch base, have people touch point. You can do email marketing directly to just your database. There's text message campaign. There's a lot of things you can do, but obviously picking up the phone is a huge, vital piece, but it doesn't always have to be you. But if it's just you, pick up the phone, make sure that you're getting in front of your pre-approved buyers, keep building a funnel. So we're going to talk about building a funnel with the gentleman today. So don't buy into that. That's my message today. Do not buy into the fact you have enough pre-approved buyers. It's just, you can't get them under contract. That's BS. Stop it right now. You could never have enough pre-approved buyers in your pipeline. All right. So we got Dolph Lyon on here. What an awesome name. First of all, Dolph, how you doing,
Thanks,
brother?
Adam. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good,
So
man. Dolph
Lyon, tell us a little bit about Dolph. And Dolph, by this, like I said, I know Dolph. Dolph has helped me in my campaigns, put together different videos for me, and the guy is top shelf. And if you think you can do it as good as him, you just can't. But he's going to give you some great tips today to do some stuff on your own as well. But Dolph, tell me a little bit about yourself. What's going on in Dolph's world?
All right, Adam. Well, for any lack of a better term, I'm a salesman, but I do it a little bit differently. I do what's called salesmanship in print. I'm a direct response copywriter, and basically what that means is I write sales messaging that helps automate the sales process for primarily mortgage loan officers like you and your friends. So glad to be here today. I'd love to jump into what that means and what that looks like. But essentially, like I said, it's salesmanship in print, and it's done in a very specific way called direct response marketing. And so just coming right out the gate, most of what we think we know about marketing is really just branding. It's brand marketing. It's that phrase that small business owners love to say, the whole get your name out there. And to me, that's like nails on a chalkboard when I hear that. You know who's getting their name out there? All the big banks. All the big banks are getting their name out there. And you know what kind of budgets they're dealing with to do that, Adam?
Yeah.
Like millions, billions of dollars every month just to get home buyers to sell them mortgages. So you can't compete like that. You don't want to play that game. You want to play not the get your name out there branding game. You want to play the direct response. And what I like to say is direct response is exactly what it sounds. You want to create and craft messaging that asks a very direct question and demands a response. And what you want that response to be is absolutely hell yes or hell no. No, maybe. No, I'll think about it. No, I saw the billboard enough and enough Facebook ads that I'm just going to come in and I'm going to, none of that. You want to direct, when you got somebody on the hook, you want them to respond yes or no. And that's what I do.
I love it. And that, I tell you what, I was actually just talking to an agent and talking about how to grow her business. And she was talking about, hey, I'm not big into Facebook, or I don't know. I guess you just have to be all over Facebook. And one of my biggest things is I say, when I talk to loan officers, real estate agents, or anybody I'm helping try to grow their business, or I look at my own business, is the big miss, right? Is the fact that, again, you said it, just get your name out there. And then people are like, well, okay, well, you got to do this, you got to do that. Well, how much does it bring to the bottom line? How much direct response does it give somebody to go ahead and buy in? Because when most people look at their business and just getting out there, what does that bring to the bottom line? Then when they actually look at it, it doesn't bring much to the bottom line, right? Like, because there's not a direct response there for it to mean anything. Right. And so I love that, what you said, because it's so true.
Listen, it works getting your name out there and branding. But if you're like, look at Nike, you know who Nike is because of branding, but you don't have a Nike budget, do you?
Yeah.
And even if you did, would you really want to waste it the way that a brand like that can waste it quickly? Right. Do you need to spend hundreds of thousands on a branding icon? Do you really need to pay to have your own font created? Do you really want a Super Bowl ad? Like, the money doesn't make sense. That's a long game, and that's an expensive game that will bleed you dry. So, and it takes that much money to do that. So if you're trying to play that game, you're gonna lose to all the big banks and all the bigger lenders. So there's another way.
There's another way. I love it. No, I love these discussions. First of all, I love talking to top shelf people that are, have that different, well, it's similar perspective, but a deeper dive into some of the perspectives I have, and especially emails, right? Like direct response, there's a total difference. Now, you've been working with Dallas for how
long? Since the pandemic started, to be honest.
Yeah.
So we were friends online. We'd gone back and forth, and then I don't know.
Yeah, you got great copyright. You got great copyright. And I'll tell you, it's funny. Dallas was on here, right? And he's like, I was writing good copyright. I was doing a really good job copyright, and then I had a real copyright writer do it, and 6 times the response. And there's a difference. There's always a difference. I think that's always key. Somebody is a top shelf at something that they're going to be better. And I think that's anything, right? Like, that's the biggest message I would say out there for loan officers, again, is, you're only going to be a specialist and the best at probably one or two things. And there's so many other people that you can hire out and do things that are going to be, that they're going to have more results out of. One thing, like I know Dallas before had, when I linked up with Dallas, for example, he had really good copyright at the time, or, I don't know who he had doing it as well, but that was how we came across, because I directly responded to one of his, this is a few years back, or no, not a few years back, but just a little over a year ago. And it may have been one of yours, I don't know. But, and we started working together, and it was because it was really good copyright. It moved the needle, and, had a call, kind of that call to action a little bit. And I was able to link up with him, and man, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. But, well, I mean, besides my daughter and all that good stuff, but
Sure.
Dallas is like,
saying.
whoa, hey, well, hey, that's a pretty good compliment, right? Best thing that ever happened to me. I love you, Dallas.
Dallas, I love you so much.
The guy's top shelf, though. I love Dallas.
Yeah.
But so, so let's go down some of this, because loan officers, to get business, we know that we go a lot of the top of funnel, which is real estate agents, because they're going to get to the client before we do. Financial planners, there's different ones. But, you do some of this copywriting for loan officers to get in front of who?
Right. Oh, there's two sides to it, right? So there's really the business to consumer side of things, where you're going directly toward mortgage loan, people that need mortgages, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to go direct to consumer. You always want to have that going. But really, a lot of the leverage comes in is when you're going after some strategic partners that can feed you multiple clients at a time. Mm. So, a lot of guys play the either or game. If I had to pick one, I would leverage relationships. Relationships, like you've said before, are the number one shortcut to success. I just love that. Like, we believe there's no such thing as a shortcut to success. It's all about the grind and the discipline, but really there is one, and that's through having right relationships in your life. And in business, that means having people that know how to do prospecting and to feed you customers. Listen, real estate agents need you to even close. So if you can find just quality people to partner with, people whose reputations are great, people that work as hard as you do, if not harder, they're going to be the types of people that you want to do business with. So you need to do some of this marketing stuff for the one-on-one, because once you have a client, you need to be able to strategically walk them through a process that you can scale and have that full pipeline like you're referring to. But the flip side of things is, when you play host to great relationships, that is the greatest shortcut to success. And that's where I would be investing all of my time, effort, and energy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's, and I think that's one thing that, of course, real estate agents, they listen to this podcast as well. And I talk to real estate agents is they can do the same thing, right? It's just, everybody has relationships they can go to scale their business, and loan officers definitely have that, to go out there and partner with the right people. And there's sometimes there's really cool ways to get in front of them, right? I think that's, I know that's something that you do to, get in front of, help loan officers get in front of people in a different way, and not just a direct call, but there's actually different things and cool ways to get in front of them. So how is some of that working out? What's been the biggest leverage point on some of that you've done?
There's a few different things, but as you were talking, what came to mind is, I think it's Gary Vaynerchuk that talks about the sophomore party rule. Have you heard this principle? So if you think back to high school, there was really a breakout point to like the lower level cool kids or the average kids that blended in the crowd. What happened was they had parents who would go away on business or go away on vacation, and those kids took the advantage of having the parents out of the house on the weekend and decided to throw a party, right? They played host to all the other cool kids so they could all hook up and make poor choices at their house. So suddenly,
love it.
Just because the kid hosted, the average cool kid hosted, he now elevated his status up to cool kid status, right? Because he played host by providing that party spot. So, and you probably thought of a handful of people when I just said that, the kids that were able to pull that off. You want to be the uncool kid hosting the cool kids. You want to do the high school party thing on your own. You want to create environments digitally and analog live events to bring multiple loan officers together, insurance agents, appraisers. You want people that are connected to the home buying process under one roof. You want to form your own Illuminati. Like you want to be the person hosting that. So, and that's not hard to do because a lot of people are looking for an excuse to blow off work in the middle of the day, right? So, or to play on their phone or their iPad. So step up and be that person. You know how easy it is? Create space and then just declare yourself the person. It's just that simple. And then start reaching out to people. I would invest, no less than a half hour a day connecting with people and inviting them into what you do. So that's the first thing. Create that space to actually start forming those relationships. When you do that, you're automatically going to start seeing more, the more hands you shake, the more contracts you get. So you automatically start doing better doing that. But, we're talking about a lot about copywriting and marketing. So you need to create copy and funnels for the consumer side. You have to do that, on the business to business side when you're working with other industry personnel. And so when we take both those sides into account, I actually look at 10 rules of direct response marketing. These were adopted through the late Dan Kennedy, who was a student of mail order advertising and infomercials throughout the 70s, went on to create multi-billion-dollar businesses. And all that was handed off through a guy named Claude Hopkins, who was the guy that helped launch Palmolive soap, who launched Goodyear tires, beer, breakfast cereal, orange juice, like very American things. So since the late 1800s, this style of marketing is was what initially started driving the big brands that we say doing the get your name out there brand advertising today. And so if you want, we can take a minute and start going through some of those rules and see how they would apply to each of our businesses. So
love to.
The first rule is always make an offer. Always create an offer. You don't want to have an interaction. You don't want to have an email. You don't want to have a phone call. You don't want to have a website, a sales page, a social media post. You don't want to do anything that doesn't have an offer. Because at the end of the day, this is all about creating offers and having somebody bite, right? Yeah. So that's rule number one. Always have an offer. And it helps if it's a great offer, right? If you can package it in a way that somebody would definitely say, hell yes, I want that, or hell no. Hell no is just as important, right, Adam? Because there's clients you don't want. Right. There's personality types you don't want to deal with that's going to be calling you every 2 minutes. What's the update? What's the status? What do you need from me? How can I help? Why isn't this? What's that? You don't want those if you can avoid them. So you want to be very clear and direct. But rule number one is always make an offer, right? Always be closing, right? It's it's the ABC, but just always have that offer. No excuse to take the time, effort, and energy to create a message or to have an interaction if you're not going to ask for a sale. So that's number one. Or to invite to your event, or to, always have an offer there. Rule number two is always have a reason for them to respond right now. That's it. You want a deadline on it because we feel that pressure as human beings, right? You've probably been on web pages where, buy now, only 12 left.
Right.
That's scarcity. That's using scarcity. It's the easiest one to use, so therefore it's the one that's overused. But you want to have a reason. Like when you start somebody on a loan process, hey, there's a small window to actually close before you have to start all over again. That's reason enough. Count down every interaction with people if you need to. If you're having a small event, you may only have 20 seats at the restaurant that you're meeting at. Hey, listen, all the top real estate agents in town are going to come hang out. Listen, you're going to want to be here. We've invited this guest. We're discussing this topic. We found this cool new way to generate leads for less money, or better leads without having to spend too much more money. Listen, we only have 20 seats. The restaurant doesn't hold that many people. We've already got 15 people registered to meet us there. I need you to let me know right now. Are you in or are you out? So always have a reason to respond right now. Maybe, in some cases that's, hey, this type of loan is wrapping up. We only have a month to get you in this program. I think it's the only one that you qualify for right now, to be honest. So get that application in today. Always have reasons to respond right now. And you have to get creative with it so you don't sound like a broken record. We only have a few left. There's only a few more days. So get creative with that. But if you're not doing anything, at least start there. Only a few left. This offer is closing. We can only have a few people in here. There's limited space in this room. Find a reason to respond right now. And the next one, which is pretty similar, is always give clear instructions. This really like in the sales process, you would be very clear on what you wanted them to do. Hey, sign right here, right? Give me this deposit in these 3 financial instruments. Very clear instructions. You want people hitting your website and having a clear path on what you want them to do. You don't want them bouncing off your site because you have too many options for them. Narrow down your site. If that means going from thinking web pages or from websites to web page only, like a 1-page site, that's what you're going to have to do if you can't find a way to really give clear instructions. Have a 1-page site. Don't have the full rollout of an entire website. And then walk them through. Here's step 1. Here's what I need you to do. Step 2, step 3. Because confused customers don't make decisions.
Right.
So you got to have that clarity for them, especially in a process where it's good for us to have first-time home buyers. We want that. They don't know. And you definitely don't want them going to their uncle or brother-in-law on what to do next. You want to be the authority in this relationship.
That's the worst. Yes.
So the way to do that is give clearer instructions and a very logical path. So they know what they're doing, why they're doing it, what they need to do next, what's coming after that. Just walk them through it. Hey, listen, before we can do anything, we need you to have a pre-approval. Your bids won't even be accepted on the house that you want without one, because real estate agents don't work with people that don't have, the seller's agent will reject your offer because they have a list of people who are already pre-approved, which means they can close faster and for more money. So in a lot of cases, that's where you start. And you just give those very clear instructions. Hey, to get started, click this green button below, a very clear call to action. So they know exactly what you need them to do. Act like you're helping an elderly person navigate your website. That's what you do. Somebody who has barely ever been on the internet, won't know what to do, walk them through it step by step. Or a 10-year-old. A lot of times what I do when I'm trying to check copy for these things, I will have my 7-year-old son or my 10-year-old daughter read it. Unfortunately, she's really smarter than most adults when it comes to reading and comprehension. So a lot of times I bounce it off the 7-year-old afterward, test them separately. Hey, what are you supposed to do? What's going to happen? He's like, I'm going to put my email here. I'm going to click this button. It's going to take me to the next page. Very good. Thank you, son. But if he hits it and he can't figure out what I'm saying, like what the instructions are to do next, I'd clarify just a little bit more. Now, obviously, if you're going to test it on your kids, they won't understand the full mortgage process or even what a mortgage is or what they're doing. But if you could spell it out to where they know what actions and buttons to click, you're good to go. Like, you're going to automatically have a higher conversion on leads that are coming in for you.
Yeah, I think that's in all things, right? I mean, simplify, and it just, man, I mean, what little I've done for marketing, that's not been outsourced. Anything that you ever do, it's got to be so simplistic, right? I mean, or people just don't read it, don't know what to do. They move on. Yeah, I love that clear call to action for sure. And then I know that you helped me with my website. So if anybody goes there, for example, and we got our other one launching as well for my Power 4. And yeah, it's just go to one site. It's just from a mortgage, right? Like, you mortgage loan officers out there, just you have like this, man, they suck. I mean, most of the time they're all this other stuff, and where am I applying at? Like my site, it's like video, big button below my video, right? This big blue button that you just click on. It's pretty simplistic, right? I mean, the call to action's there. It's very simplistic. People know where to go. They can look at one thing to know who you are, and it's a video sales letter that's gonna, if they listen to it, oh wow, they get wow, they entrenched in who you are and what you're about, and they're going to go ahead and click that button. So yeah, very, very important. There's a huge distinction between that and the other crap that a lot of times you see on, and that's anybody's website, because when you go across somebody's that's really good, man, I tell you what, even if you don't want, and by the way, video sales letters, and of course we can go down, I don't know if you're going to go through that, but video sales letters are just, man, when they're done well, like you copywrote mine, and you just said, hey, what's the key elements, and we just went through that dialogue, you putting it together. Wow, it was just, by the time I listened to the last one I had, I'm like, whoa, man, I was pumped up. Like I was ready to sign up my own thing. I was like, man, this guy's damn good, right? Like, but it did. It's one, you're talented at what you do, but just having those call to actions and moving the needle, and then boom, there you go. That's it. I don't need all this other stuff. When you start putting all this other fluff around it, everybody thinks that's going to be good, and all it does is distract from the action.
Yeah, exactly. They've done tests. The uglier websites pull better than prettier websites. Actually, when Google first started, I can't remember the girl's name, but there was an intern that kind of had worked her way up through Google, and her entire job was to make sure that all the other departments didn't clutter the homepage. So to this day, when you hit google.com, it's just mostly a plain white page. It says Google, there's a search bar and a search button. And that is the #1 website on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Unless it's a social media site, which are, whatever. It's Google I'm talking about here. So if that's the discipline that they instilled in trying to keep that page as clear and as plain as possible, then who are we to want to pretty up our pages, add a bunch of content? There's a time and a place for that, but not when you want buyers hitting your page. That is not the time to start scattering attention. You want a very clear, one big idea and one call to action. And it takes discipline to do that,
Love it.
And so, again, number 3 here was give clear instructions. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing, because confused buyers don't buy. With that, number 4 is track and measure. Track and measure. We are living in a day and age where it's easier now more than ever to know who's hitting your site, when they're hitting it, what they're clicking, when they're bouncing off, what's working, what's not working. When you're running ads, these days it's a lot different, because those are tracked too, to know what's working. Are you spending $1 to get $3 or $5 back? If not, you gotta hold that spend accountable. Make the necessary changes to make sure that it's producing. Even if you're spending $1 and making $2 back, do that all day. But track and measure. There's, especially like emails, landing pages, websites, downloads, every part of your funnel can be tracked these days. So there's no excuse to spend the money, spray and pray, and hope that you get a customer, or hope that your marketing is working. You don't have to do that anymore. I'm friends with the guy that owns and publishes our hometown newspaper. And it's funny, like, he has a free paper that runs on weekends only that hits every mailbox. And they do independent audits. They hire companies to audit it. So they track all the numbers, so they know exactly when they're selling their ads. Hey, listen, this is going to hit 40,000 mailboxes. 76% of the entire population is going to read it. Here's who lives here. Here's how they're educated. Here's where they work. Here's what they're making. Here's the purchases that they plan on making in the next 12, 24 months. We have that data these days. And so even with newspaper ads. On the flip side, something like radio, you can't really track it. I wouldn't put tons of money in something that you can't track. Podcasts, ads, you pay per 1,000. So it seems like it's a pretty good deal. It's just really tough to track. Right. And so stick to things that that will give you that feedback and that data, and hold it accountable. Hold every ad dollar you spend accountable, which is something you can't do with branding like we talked about earlier. It's like a hole in a bucket. You can put all your money into that and you won't know what's working and what's not. With direct response, you get that yes or no. And then the way you do that is you track it. You hold it accountable. There's tweaks to be made. So you got to make them. And, that's a lot of tech stuff these days, but it's not super hard. Like you can pay somebody freelance to handle that for you. There's no excuses not to do it. Please do it. You want to know what's working and what's not working in your business, so you can go all in on what works and you can start cutting the things that aren't working. So we talked about it a little bit. Number 5 is branding should be a byproduct of marketing. Branding should not be a line item. A lot of people take way too much time to decide, what their logo should be. Some people don't take enough time, if we're being honest. They'll throw just anything up. Hi, I want my dog in it, stuff like that. But anyway, branding should be a byproduct, a byproduct of good direct response marketing. Don't invest tons of money in getting your name out there. When you're doing the right things, branding happens through who you are as a person, the things that you stand for as a company, the values that you hold, the way you conduct business, the way you treat everyone from your customer to the people that they've chosen to work with. That's the branding that matters the most. What people say about you when you're not in the room is more important than, than what colors you're going to use on your website, or, where you're putting your park bench ad. Right. What people say about you when you're not around is really the branding you should be spending most of your time in, treating people well, making sure that everybody that touches your business is having a world-class experience and they feel like they're being cared for and heard. So that's the branding to invest in, and that should be a byproduct of great marketing and just doing a good business. We talked about kind of the website thing. A lot of people, invest $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 in their website, but if it's just a pretty website that is no more than just a digital business card, that was not money well spent. It should be, you invested well in copy. If you're going to do a video sales letter, you invest in hiring a decent videographer that knows their craft, has great gear, will make sure you look and sound good, that your audio is popping, it just sounds awesome. You made a great investment, Adam. I don't remember the team you worked with, but that guy did a great job on your videos.
They turned out great. They turned out
just a great investment.
Oh yeah. I mean, if anybody goes, by the way, if anybody wants to look at the website for the loans, you can go to hiresloans.com and see that's the landing page, on there. It's got I've got the big blue button below to click it. And we've got a nice hook in there for the 9 home loan killers. They can download. So it's a downloadable for people, and it's, and then it's got some other things on there. And basically that's it. When they click it, it goes to, Sierra Pacific Mortgage, and, they can start the actual application itself and start applying, but it's really well put together. The video looked great. Obviously the copyright from Dolph was amazing. And it just really flowed. So and the one I'm more excited about even is the one in my other for drawing in more relationships that we got going. And they did a great job. And Dolph, again, when he puts it together, it's magic. It's way better than I could have put together. That's for sure. 100. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
It's
that.
good. It's I'm not saying this just to pump them up, and when we're, we got this glow thing. It's like, no, Dolph's a badass. I mean, he does, and obviously you can hear that on what he's saying here, but yeah, and you got to do things that call to action. You have to have really good videos and really good copyright and things like that, and stop wasting money on just fluff that doesn't really drag to the bottom line.
Yeah, that's so true. Like you have a sharp eye for excellence and you demand that, but you'll even see like it's different when you're putting together like more of a web page versus a website. It doesn't feel as sexy. It doesn't look quite as cool as, putting together like just a really dope website with tons of graphics. Your ego has to kind of take a back seat because you want the sexy, but the sexy isn't really what sells. It's having that clear process for the human eyeball to take down the page. And then you're calling out their dominant buying motives. You're calling them out who they are specifically. We'll talk about that a little bit when we get into copy, but there's just something different. Something about the ugly. Yours isn't really ugly, but if it were to be uglier, it would work just as well. Maybe it would even work better. That's worth a test too. So if you're listening right now and you're thinking, oh, great, I get to retool all of this that I've already spent money on. The good news is it doesn't have to look better than what you have now. It needs to operate differently. It's a different paradigm. It's a different mindset. And your ego has to take a back seat. But the good news is when we decide to shrink our egos, that's actually where the results are, isn't it? So listen,
love it.
The ugly is where the money's at. Be excellent. I'm not saying don't have excellence. I'm not saying don't think world class. What I'm saying is think entirely differently about the way this all is coming together. But
well, I think it's like anything in sales or anything. It's not about you. It's about them.
Correct.
And when the site has to be about them, not about you. Like, hey, that really, in a nutshell, is the difference. Because when you want to put together this pretty website, everything else, it's all about, I want to make myself look more, cool. I want to make myself look like I'm more than I am. All this other stuff that you're doing really just to heighten your status, you feel like, when reality is the only thing that matters is whether you resonate with somebody and they're going to click the button below. That's it.
Yeah. The truth is, at the end of the day, they care more about them than they care about you.
Right.
And so you're just holding up a mirror. That's it, man. You're just holding up a mirror for them. So yeah, again, that's the whole branding thing. Number 5 is branding should be a byproduct of great marketing. It's not a line item to be invested in. So number 6 is one of my favorites. The 6th rule of direct response marketing is follow up. And what I like to say is follow up, follow up, follow up. We talk about it all the time as salespeople, but we don't do it. That's when we start blaming the leads. The leads are weak. Well, no, your follow-up strategy is weak. You don't have the grit. You don't have the discipline to actually follow up. You get that endorphin rush when you actually get that lead and you've had the conversation and you feel good about that. But when it doesn't happen right away and you don't follow up, you're losing. That's a losing strategy. So if rule number 1 is always make an offer, Grant Cardone calls that promote, promote, promote. I think the 6th rule, follow up, follow up, follow up, is actually more important.
Yeah.
So there's ways to do that. Now, if you hate following up, we live in a time and age where the technology can do that for you. It's not as great as you personally doing it, but if you're going to put these principles in place, your pipeline's going to be too full. And before you can make the right hire, you actually can just automate all of this for, a couple bucks a month. You can do this through email autoresponders, which is very important. It's actually the secret sauce is the follow-up email. But follow up. You want to use ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, Aweber, Keep, whatever the tool is. you got to follow up. And I think email is strong. Email is not dead. Don't follow the guru hype. Email is just as strong now as it's been in recent years. It's not dead just because there's more tools available. That's the thing. We tend to fall in love with the tools, the shiny new objects, but at the end of the day, it's how you use it. It's how you're using those tools. So, man,
Love it.
Email follow-up.
It.
So let me give you an example of this follow-up thing. We won't name names, but we have a client who, through the last few years, had accumulated an email list through his CRM that he wasn't doing anything with. They had just because he had the CRM, people that were hitting his site, the email was automated into his system, but he didn't have anything in place to follow up with those. I'm not saying he wasn't following up personally and he wasn't doing a good job. The dude was crushing it already.
Yeah.
But he reached out to me to put, an email follow-up system in place. And would you know, in the first follow-up email, cold list, hadn't been emailed before, he closed a $1.2 million home loan. He sent the email on a Thursday at 2:00, and then within 20 minutes, they called him personally and said, "Take my money." Like, that's the power of follow-up. He wouldn't have known who they were. He wouldn't have combed back through that list to reach out on his own. The system did it for him. I wrote the copy. His assistant put it into his CRM. It went out automatically, like it does every Thursday at 2:00. And the money started flowing. And in fact, people from out of state in his list reached out, and he was able to give referrals to his network. Like, first email. So it's worth investing in getting it right. Just follow up. Automate that as much as you can. Make it feel human. But if you don't do anything we've talked about today, get better at that. Use artificial intelligence. Let the robots take over. As long as they're bringing you money, follow up.
Yep.
The next part of this equation, which everything is kind of wrapped in, is you need to write great copy. You just need to. We're talking about Dallas earlier, who already was he was getting pretty decent results with his copy, but he's not a writer. He hates writing. He hates it. He feels like he's not great at it. But what was working for him is he was injecting his full personality into all of his copy. Like, the way Dallas talks is the way Dallas writes. And that's one of the strongest rules about writing great copy. Write how you talk. Don't put on your junior year English lit class writing hat. Like, friggin' write like you talk. If you don't use right grammar, don't use right grammar. If you say ain't a lot, put it in your copy. Like, write how you talk. That's rule number one. If we're looking so if you're not going to hire somebody like me to write your copy, which I don't blame you, it's not cheap. You might not be there quite yet. You can do a few things on your own. Number one, the top of your webpage should have a big old headline. Like, what I mean by that is it's about one sentence, very tall, bold letters. The eyeball goes right to that headline right away. Why that's important, think about it as like the newspaper. When you see a newspaper, the first thing you see is a big headline. And then you read those headlines. It's how the clickbait media industry has been able to explode because of their headlines, man.
Yeah.
Remember tabloids, like at the market, when you're about to head out the register and check out, there would always be like the UFO sighting tabloids or the Brad Angelina stuff. The reason why it's right there is because they have your attention, and then those headlines just grab you. So you pick up the stupid magazine or whatever that's sitting there for a couple bucks.
Oh yeah. I keep certain emails, like not unsubscribing to emails, just because I enjoy their headlines. And it's like, I'm always like, I'm never going to be a copywriter like you, but I always love to, I'm like, man, that was really you're right. Even if I did, it's like that caught me. Like, I'm just going to look at it because that was pretty damn good. Right. Like I think you said earlier, like, I really appreciate, top level, people, whatever. But like, that's one of the things I enjoy as well, is like, let's click in there. That's pretty cool. I'm not going to get anything from them, but I love their game. And it's like, you read a couple and it's like, damn, I'm almost ready to buy this. And I don't need a vacuum cleaner, but no, I'm just not a vacuum cleaner, but I'm just joking. But like, I'm sitting there reading going, it's pretty damn good. Right. Like I enjoy that. I'm always trying to learn, like, that stuff. And you're absolutely right. The headline, man, it catches you and you just have to read it.
That's right. A few things on that headline is 80 cents of every dollar you spend. 80% of people will read that headline. If you get that right, you're attracting the right people and repelling the wrong people. So get that right. If you don't do anything else, have a strong subject line in your email, that's a headline, or have a strong headline on top of your webpage. That's the first thing. The second thing is, what you're doing is called a swipe file. And it's actually what industry professionals use. They stack up everything that works on them, and then they use it for inspiration. You can't steal it. It is intellectual property. So you can't just take it verbatim, but you can change words around, reapply it. It's definitely do that with things outside your industry all the time. Always look for inspiration outside of our industry. When industry is looking from peer to peer, it's incestuous. Things don't seem to work. We don't know what to copy and what not to copy. So look outside of our industry. It's how, you look at the fast food and banking. So banking put in ATMs, banking put in drive-through windows. Fast food went from being a drive-in to a drive-through, right? It's two industries looking at each other instead of, what are the other banks doing? Well, what are the other restaurants doing? Oh, they're putting hot girls on roller skates and sending them out with trays. Like, always look for inspiration outside of your industry. So if you need to sign up for a few different email lists, do that. How I even got into copywriting was from this. Like, I had registered for a Hotmail email account back in high school. I think it was my sophomore year. I had to open an email account because I was getting a job and I needed to have an email for the job. And I had accidentally defaulted to receiving a bunch of newsletters. Well, one of them was about internet marketing. It was called Early to Rise. And it's still around. It's Craig Ballantyne's company. He bought that thing out.
He's good, by the way. I love. He's got good copy.
He's got great copy, and that's how he started. And he started the same way I did.
I listen to. He's awesome, and he's great what he does, and great copy, and I'm like, I love his books. He's good. That guy's. If you haven't picked up stuff of Craig Ballantyne, really good. The perfect week, all that, man, guys. I love it. I tried to get him on a podcast. He's like, I don't do podcasts anymore. I'm like, well, I'm just going to keep following up with you. But
that's funny. He did anyway. Beatrice's podcast, but that's all right.
Now, man, no, he's dead to me now.
Screw that
guy. He big timed me. How dare him?
What you do is you start your own fitness business and put him out. That's what he did.
Now I'm going to have you writing copyright back to him.
You're done, Craig. I'm stealing all your copy. Just putting Adam's name on it.
I love it.
I love that guy. So back in the day, another guy had started it, launched it, and was the primary writer for it. It's from Agora. They sold their own products through his newsletter. And I kept finding myself buying these stupid little ebooks. I'm a kid. I'm buying ebooks back in, what was it, 03, 02 or whatever. And I can't stop. I'm blowing through what little money I'm making. And my parents are like, you got to stop doing this. Like, we're going through printer ink too fast. Like, what are you doing? Well, finally they had sent one, about the time start thinking about college. What are my next steps? They sent an email and the headline said, or it was a click through a landing page. It said something like, if you can write a letter like this, you'll never have to worry about money for the rest of your life. And then the sub headline was something like, how a grocery store stock boy makes 6 figures writing simple letters like these. Something crazy like that, a little hypey, but I was all in. I'm like, oh, I want this. Give me 6 figures. And so it was a copywriting program. At the time, it was probably $1,000. Parents wouldn't give me $1,000 to not go to college. So they broke it down into payments for me, made the payments, still in high school. And this is how it worked. They just had, that became a swipe file for me. I still refer to that letter to this day. I still refer to a lot of their products and how they lay it out, you know? So if you're getting emails that you find yourself wanting to buy something, save that email. David Ogilvy says, it's not creative if it doesn't sell. So if you like it just because you like it, that's one thing. If as you're reading it, you're starting to feel your heart rate kind of increase a little bit, and you start like, I need this, I want this, and you just want to skip the copy and scroll to the bottom and click buy now, that is good copy. And that's what good copy should do. So
love it. I love
I'm
good
obsessed
copy.
with that. So build a swipe file. Hey, build a swipe file from other parts of or other industries and see how you can apply it to what you're doing. If you need help writing copy, do that. Staying on the copy thing, write a headline. Like we said, start a swipe file. But the third thing is I want to give a quick formula on if you're going to write your own copy. So we said start with a headline, right? We talked about making an offer and having, clear instructions or a call to action. I want to give you a few parts here. Like if you're going to sit down and you need to write something quick, you don't want to invest thousands of dollars, you don't have time. Here's what you do. This comes from copywriting legend John Carlton. And he says to write in this template. Here's what the thing is. Here's what it will do for you. Here's why you should listen to me. And here's what I need you to do next. So you start with, here's what the thing is. Here's what it'll do for you. Here's why I'm a credible person and you should listen to me. And then here's the call to action. Here's what you need to do next. Click this button below, call or text this number, like whatever that call to action is. So on either side of your business, think about how to outline those 4 things in everything you write. Always make that offer, give clear instructions, make sure there's a follow-up. And then, you need to have that credibility piece sometimes, especially when we're dealing with people's finances. So that's it. If you don't know how to write like you talk, and then just give those 4 steps. And, we haven't really discussed how to write a headline. I'll say this, you'll do really well if you look at interesting ways to say things, describing what the thing is, who it's for, and then quantifying it, giving, we're talking about mortgage loans here or loans here. A lot of times people just say, we have loans here, please work with us. Their websites don't really say exactly who the loan's for. So if you prefer working with first-time home buyers, if you have great success working with veterans, whatever the niche may be, just start with that. And then ask a strong question. Are you a military veteran looking to purchase a home within the next 12 months? Get your pre-approval in 24 hours. Just it doesn't have to be sexy. The fact that you have a headline and no one else does is what's working. So just start there. Call out who it's for, give them a promise, and then put a timeline on it. And that's really just the first main step.
Perfect.
So if those few things are the only thing you do when you're writing copy, you're doing better than everybody else. So I would always have that email opt-in and just have a really strong, like, put your name and email here, click this button. A lot of times you might want to bribe somebody ethically, like what we did with you. You had some things to say, so we put it in a PDF format, called it an ebook. And then, when you register for the email, you get this free ebook that establishes you as an authority because you have a book. It helps them so they know how to work with you and what they can expect, alleviate some of that fear. And then it makes sure that you've indoctrinated a great client to work with if they're following through. So
love it.
A little nugget there. Number 8 is a pretty funny rule. It talks about the importance of studying mail order advertising. I mean, when's the last time you've thought about mail order advertising?
Mail order advertising. I love it.
Right. So this is stemming from the history of marketing. Back in the day, it wasn't spending, a few cents or a few bucks on a click. It was when you wanted to market something, it was expensive. You didn't make stupid gambles. You did market research. You made sure you were marketing the right thing with the right margins. So I live about 10 minutes away from where I think it was the late 1800s, they rolled out palm olive soap. Because before, palm olive was just oil. It wasn't used as hand soap and for cleaning. It was like a skin product, like a skincare product. But they decided to try to reformulate and market it into something that would sell more frequently. So they did this test in a town called Bent Harbor, Michigan. It was a test of like 10,000, but here's what worked. They decided to give a free coupon that you exchange at your local grocery store. Okay, that was a very expensive test. But that's what they did back in the day when they wanted to roll out a new product or a new brand, or they wanted to test something. It cost thousands of dollars. These days it would be tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it like that. But that discipline of knowing this is going to cost me something makes you go extra into the details to make sure it works. Now, the other thing about mail order advertising, besides the discipline, the flip side of it is you're only doing what's working. And what's working is there's always an offer. It's generally pretty ugly. The copy is pretty strong. And the point of it is there's that headline, and it walks you through that clear path into, making that call to action. So, this is kind of where we could have talked about earlier, the ugly thing that works, but it's just important to know, like, listen, the reason why this works isn't because it's the shiny new object. It's because it's deeply tapped into human psychology. We've been accustomed to this type of marketing for generations now, for at least 200 years. And so, man, do it this way. It works. It might not be what you want to see. It might not be sexy, but it's gonna bring you money. And to me, that's a little bit sexier than getting your marketing the way you want it. Do what's gonna work. So study mail order advertising. Literally Google it. One of the people that I first started studying, his name is Gary Halbert, the late Gary Halbert. Those do you remember back in the day where there would be ads for, like, get your family coat of arms or your family crest, and we'll send you what the family crest is on this plaque, and we'll give you the history of your name? Yep. He's the dude that broke that industry. He met some old lady in a library who was looking up family crest for fun, turned it into a business. He literally had to hire a receivables team to take all of the checks in to deposit them. That's it. Just open envelopes and take checks in, because he couldn't carry all the cash himself. Like, that level of working. So when you study guys like that, when you look at the ads that they've used in the past, you kind of start understanding what that formula is and how it works. It's strategic. It's not about being creative. If it doesn't sell, it isn't creative. And then the flip side of that is something I should have mentioned earlier about copywriting. I think it was Plato that said, "He who tells the stories rules the world." And I don't know about you, Adam, but I'm a dominant human being. I want to dominate. I don't want to compete. I don't step into rings where I'm not going to just absolutely massacre the person in front of me. Understand?
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So the way you do that is doing it this way. And I can't say it any clearer. Buy into this. Drink this Kool-Aid. Go all in on this style, man.
Love it.
So, all right. The next part, because I'm getting a little hyped here. The next part is
it's all good.
Results rule. Results rule. Not your need to be right. Not your wanting your idea to win. Results rule.
Yeah.
So, man, let's tell the stories. Let's dominate. But at the end of the day, if we're telling the wrong story, if we're not dominating, if that headline's not working, if this ad medium's not working, if the image you wanted to use isn't working, listen, flip it. Because at the end of the day, it's about the results. Let your ego go. You will fail. Your business will fail at the cost of your ego. You want to feel like you're somebody and that you did something? Fine. You can feel that way filing bankruptcy then. The results rule here. Best idea doesn't have to win. What needs to win is, did I put $1 in and get a couple more back? That's it, man. So many people, back in the day, I did a lot of marketing for car dealers when I was first like trying to really work through this copywriting thing. And it just, the ego of the managers and the owners would always just floor me. They would always want to like put their dog in the picture, or their kid, or, they wanted to be the guy, but they weren't in there every day. Like, they didn't want to feature anybody else. Or instead of featuring the car that would actually pull people in, they wanted to feature the car that had the most profit built into it, because, this is how we run this business. Like, and not listen to the results that are actually working. I had actually written an article for a dealer. It was a new dealership. I had written an article in this style that we're talking about. And it was, the idea of it was like 6 steps to not get screwed over at the local car dealer. And I was like, it was scathing, to be honest, but it was a fun read. It had tons of personality. It was about like, hey, look out for dudes with slicked, greasy hair and plaid coats. If your dealer's wearing a Rolex, run. Like, it was funny. But at the end of it, it was like, here's why you want to go to this particular dealer. We carry these cars. They have this reputation. One of the cars had just reached 1 million. They had like their second car reach 1 million milestones. So this company threw a parade. Like, they're selling quality cars. And there's no haggle pricing, internet pricing. When you come in, what you see is what you get. It was just like, it was taking all of the things that people hate about going to car dealers and then turning it on its head, making fun of it, and then saying, here's why we're not like them. But they said, we're not running this. We're not running this because it's making us look like, first of all, cheesy. And now it's making us look like we're one of these people. So you're basically calling us out. I'm like, well, don't be one of these people, like this ad's going to work, man. And so they didn't run it. And they decided to go with, here's our cars for the week. And so I said, okay, we'll put that ad together and let's see how that pulls for you. No one came in. No one called off that ad. No one. And they're like, well, this is why we don't advertise like this. I'm like, no, you did it wrong. You let your ego get in the way. Results should rule. And so if you deploy something and it didn't work, have the humility to say, it didn't work. We tested it. In marketing, everything's a test. I always say that. When a client comes to me, Adam, and they're like, hey, is this going to work? Would this work better? We don't know. We don't know. We have the track record. We know the tactics. We know the strategy. We know the deep philosophy behind it, the human nature behind it. That will guide us on the initial. But don't blow your whole budget on the initial. You test it. If you tested it at $1,000 and it's pulling, up it to a couple more $1,000 and just roll it out slowly. Make sure those metrics are moving in the right direction at an anticipated pace, at the pace you expected, at the bumps you expected. And if they're not, stop and start looking where you need to tweak. That tracking and measurement we talked about. Results rule.
Love it.
The last one is, I want to encourage you to go all in on direct response, on having great copywriting, and go all in on this style of marketing for at least 6 months. So try it for 6 months. Don't spend another ad dollar on brand advertising. Don't spend another dollar on doing the things that you've always done just to get the same results. Don't spend another dollar on doing it the way that you were taught to do it. Go all in on this for 6 months. And if you don't see a huge difference in the quality of leads and how many leads you're getting, those are the two, to me, those are the two most important parts to spend: the quality of leads and the sheer number of leads. Now, listen, if you're getting less leads, but you're closing a higher rate of those, by all means, what you were doing earlier was getting bottom feeders. And those are great vanity numbers, but at the end of the day, you're wasting more time, effort, energy for less money. Don't do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spend a few more bucks per acquisition cost and have a better quality lead. And the flip side of that, start putting more money into that, and just do this for 6 months. If it sucks, you can always go back to your sexy website. You're not having follow-up. You're not having, great written copy. that you've either used the formulas we talked about, or that you've paid somebody that's been around the block a few times. Listen, do it the way you've always done it. You can always go back.
Yeah.
So that's rule number 10. At least try it for 6 months. Give it a shot.
Well, that's a key in anything, right? Like nothing, it doesn't work. Well, you didn't give it time to work. And, and again, it's all about diving all in anything you do. I mean, man, that's the worst thing in the world is to hear somebody say it doesn't work. And it's like, you're 2 weeks in, you may want to try this thing out for a little while. And like you said, the results, and you don't know what the results are if you don't give enough time to show results. And absolutely. So I love what you said. I mean, out there, if you take, if you take these steps, I think you're definitely going to benefit from it. I love these 10 things people can take and say, okay, this is what I need to do to grow my business, to maybe do it a different way. All these things were really good actionable steps you can take, tactical, real strategies to take with your business. Now, if you end up getting out there and you're doing this and you see some results, you may go, hey, what would the results be if I hired somebody that was a badass in this, right? Like because you're probably, if you're a loan officer out there, a real estate agent, you're insurance agent, you're financial planner, you're probably not the best copywriter in the world. So you can start on this, start getting your budget up. What I would say in anything is like, you don't have a budget right now for staff. Well, just get your volume up and get your staff. You don't have enough money to invest in somebody that's going to be a boss at marketing or whatever and generate you some money. Start gaining traction and doing it yourself. And then as soon as you do, invest. Always keep looking for that next investment to get you to the next place. Invest first, always never in the who, not the how. The who, not the how. Because you're going to find the people that can do things better than you. They can crush your deals better because they are better in getting documents. You can crush your deals. You can hire someone to help you in your marketing because you can do it better. All these other areas, take away the ego. Stop thinking you're the one that can do it all and you're the best. That whole people always say it all the time, right? Like jack of all trades, a master of none. Well, I would rather be a master at a few and just be a complete badass in those, because that will make you the most amount of money. Not being the jack of all trades and kind of half-ass being okay at some certain things. Doesn't really, there's no success, really high successful entrepreneur, highly successful loan officer, real estate agent that think that they're the best in all things, or don't have it hired out, or think I need to be the jack of all trades. Why do I kind of need to be? No, they don't think that way. They think, who else can I hire to do the things I don't want to do, that I'm not the best at, and I can go and do more of the things that I can only do, etc. So go out there and take these tips then and apply it. And then if you say, hey, you know what, I got some money to end up, this is working, but it could work probably better if I hired someone, go out there and get Dolph to write copy and help you. This is huge. So I'm happy to be in partnership with Dolph here with my own projects, and then also with Genius Loan Officer. You can reach us, reach out to Dolph, myself, anything else. I can link you up with Dolph. You can reach out to him directly. We got some great programs for loan officer to absolutely crush your business in marketing, in mindset, in salesmanship. Listen, Dallas and I have got some big things going on. And if you're tired of just sitting down with people and not getting the deal, or them to send you deals, real estate agents not sending you deals, you want a cooler way to doing certain things. You want to take some new strategies and tactics. You want to grow your team. You want to grow your business. Man, I'll tell you what, we have some stuff in store, don't we, Dolph?
Incredible things going on. I'm so glad that Dallas and you and I are getting together. The truth is, what we're sharing with people is no one else is really doing it, and that's a key reason why it really works. When
Yeah.
when you leverage things that other people aren't doing within this industry. Now people are using what we take, or what we're doing, they're taking it that's been outside the industry for years, we're bringing it into an industry that it hasn't been done in before.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so when you have first mover advantage, and you just no one else can compete because they're not playing the same game. We're out here playing chess with our loan officers, with our agents, and everybody else is playing checkers, man. So I feel sorry for everybody else in 2021, 2022 that isn't playing the same game we are.
I love it. Dolph, pleasure having you on here, and absolutely incredible being around you, letting you help me and growing this thing, and just blowing the freaking lid off it. We're here to dominate, as you said, not to just go come in the game, to absolutely dominate. And the reason we're going to dominate is we want to help you all grow. That's the biggest reason. It's about you, not about us. And go out there. You remember, guys, girls, limited risk equals limited income.